A big thank you comes to you today from Dead Rabbit via Patreon for his long support of the channel. Indominus Rex versus Grenzo, Carder and Sigarda. Well, we do have ramp, but it's turn 4 ramp as it stands now. That's not going to be fast enough. I'm worried about that Sigarda player, so we'll mulligan. Okay, and then into no ramp whatsoever. And no keywords in hand either. We've got like 30 odd creatures in the deck and not seeing any of them, unfortunately, so we'll have to go down a card, I think. Okay, a bit of ramp there in the form of the Sylvan Caryatid, but yeah, we're not looking too incredible. We'll keep it, but not too happy with what we're drawing into here. We've got Haste, Flying and Death Touch on this, and then Hexproof on this. So yeah, maybe we can make use of the Vigilance, Trample and Haste, so keep these two creatures, get rid of the Vengeful Reaper. Alright, that's like the 5th time we've seen Animate Dead this game, and we've only just started. Let's play out the Zagoth Triome and pass. Okay, excellent, and then the middle player has scooped on us because it's Magic Online, so how do we do it? Need to ban this player. Sometimes I do often ban players. Now I'm getting pretty liberal, as someone pointed out in a comment recently, with blocking players. I just don't always show it on videos because I'm not looking to like shame anyone. It's just sometimes I'll do it on the video, sometimes I won't. Anyway, Lightning Greaves from Grenzo. So we'll get down the Woodland Cemetery and ramp a little bit with the Sylvan Caryatid. Our Gothian Enchantress is Shroud, so we're going to have Shroud to worry about all over the board apparently. And then it's 3 mana from our opponent, not playing out the Grenzo obviously. Okay, that is a Beast Within. We can hold up Assassin's Trophy. We're just hoping for another mana, because that means we'll be able to get down our commander next turn, so yeah, just hold up the removal. Alright, and an Overgrowth, so oh, we could be so spiky here and go for the Beast Within onto this, blow up the land and the Aura. And I wonder if we do need to play like that into Sigarda, although there's only 3 cards in hand, about to be 4 though. Yeah, I did put Casual Fun in the lobby, so I'm gonna be nice and not do that, but against Sigarda, that's probably the play, is going for Beast Within onto that. Still time to do it before the end of Grenzo's turn though. Alright, so down comes an Anger, and obviously they want that in the bin as opposed to being in play. And the Anger swings in towards Sigarda, likely going to deal 2 damage. And I am going to do it here. I'm going to go after that land with the Beast Within. Feel bad doing it, but it is Sigarda. And there's every chance we don't get into a land here. Yep, there we go. A Barlagad Recovery is a land, but it's a tap land unfortunately. So again, we are holding up an Assassin's Trophy. Funny interaction could be going for Animate Dead onto the Anger when it goes into the bin as well to remove haste from all this stuff. Probably not worth it to do that though. All of Heliod's Generosity into play now. Could put the Overgrowth back on top so they can get their mana back. It'll just take them a few turns to do it. So this turn a storage counter going onto the step. And we see Exploration with 4 cards in hand. Not making any additional lands there though. Alright, there's a Goblin Spy. Play with the top card of your library revealed. And revealed on top is Bracers. Alright, a discussion going on in the chat here. And this guy's saying that he'll block the Anger with the Beast for some reason. I don't know why you'd give Grenzo the Anger in the bin. I don't know how that benefits Sigarda at all. But these two working together. So Anger now in the bin, giving all the stuff haste over here. So is there any point in blowing up the Lightning Greaves? I think we'll hold on to the Assassin's Trophy for now. Alright, there's a Rishkar's Expertise. So a land next turn into Rishkar's could be decent. Could draw a land this turn. I'm amazed at how few a number of keyword cards we're seeing here. How few a number of creatures. But we'll go for our commander. So Indominus Rex comes in. We can discard for Vigilance, Trample and Haste the Forerunners. And for Flying, Death Touch and Hexproof the Night Veil. Now that means that we draw a bunch. This has 6 counters on it now. Alright, and gets us into some more mana of course. So probably just get a tap land with the Marsh Flats, should be fine. And just as a reminder, this is Death Touch, Flying, Haste, Hexproof, Trample and Vigilance. And we'll start threatening commander damage, I think. So go in at the left against the Sigarda player that we're worried about, and we are somewhat bullying. And then discarding, ready for an Animate Dead. Do we just make it the Nighthawk Scavenger? I don't think it really matters if we have Nighthawk Scavenger in hand. we can actually next turn go for the Rishkar's Expertise and cheat in a Glenelendra Archmage with it held up for 1 activation. And we do have a combo in here with a couple of creatures. It'll enter with a plus counter, negating the Persist -1/-1 counter, meaning that we can consistently negate things. And I think it's safe to say that we have slowed down the Sigarda player quite a bit. And it's just another counter onto the Salt Crusted Steppe, so yeah, Sigarda not doing too well at all after that Beast Within. If our opponent doesn't have too much mana available and doesn't have that many cards in hand he can make use of, then it makes sense giving Ganga to the Grenzo player, trying to distract us away from him. But we will try and get rid of Sigarda as quickly as we can. And then the 3/3 was going to turn in towards us, but thankfully we have a Vigilance counter on our commander. This time seeing on top a Frog Tosser Banneret, making the Goblin spells cost 1 less. So it seems as though Grenzo's gone for a Goblin Tribal build. And a Teferi's Puzzle Box, alright. So we're not going to be keeping our cards in hand. We will have chance to go for an Assassin's Trophy if we want. Alright, so Teferi's Puzzle Box goes on the stack, and I don't know if we necessarily care about it. Do we want to use Assassin's Trophy here? Maybe get rid of the Lightning Greaves? Yeah, it's probably going to be a good idea to remove Shroud. They've got haste now thanks to our opponent, but getting rid of the Shroud is probably going to be a good idea, so go for this at instant speed. There's every chance that we could get into Fire Shrieker to give our commander double strike, and we could have played and equipped it if I hadn't gone for the Assassin's Trophy, but there's also every chance that we don't draw into it as well, so we'll just have to see. You can always play and equip it next turn and one-shot the Sigarda out of the air, assuming that Sigarda isn't in play. There is a Rakdos Signet on top now. Our opponent has shuffled and grabbed a land. So all that stuff getting shuffled around, we draw into a Living Death. There is a Sylvan Library. It would be good to discard Bontu the Glorified into our commander for an indestructible counter, but yeah, I don't think it really matters here. Let's just go for, I think the Sylvan Library alone is fine. So actually glad that I didn't go for the Teferi's Puzzle Box now, because we could do with shuffling this hand away. Triggers at the draw step, doesn't it? Yes, so we can have a look with the Sylvan Library. We could put life into it anyway to draw more cards, and therefore shuffle more cards away with the box. So we'll continue to try and get Sigarda. Noteworthy that with the box, the cards are going on the bottom of the library as well, so making use of a fetch to shuffle everything around to help increase the chances that we get into something like Living Death again is going to be handy. Something that we have to bear in mind. Well, there it is. A few turns later than our opponent would have liked. Sigarda, Host of Herons, into play. Luckily, can't stand up against our commander, and we are, if they can't buff this, then we are going to force them to block with that, so might not be as big a threat as our opponent would like. Living Death won't be able to have them sacrifice with Sigarda either, so any creatures will just come into play under their control from their graveyard. A Fire Prophecy on top of our opponent's library. And then drawing into that off the puzzle box, we see a land into a Sol Ring. Our opponent's starting to catch up on mana. So down comes another commander in Grenzo, and that is a 7/7, so we need to worry about commander damage ourselves here. And okay, the 7/7 goes in at Sigarda as well, so not getting tunnel vision. Kudos to Sigarda for not quitting so far. Many a Magic Online player would. So chumping with the Beast token. And now we don't shuffle with Teferi's Puzzle Box, like I said, so see what we draw into here. There's Cabal Coffers, only 3 swamps available to us though. Oh, and because it's not our turn, I was thinking we could look at some cards with Sylvan Library, but ours goes on the stack first because it's our turn and then it's the Puzzle Box, so yeah, not to worry, we don't need to think too much then. And that sees us into Otawara. Master Biomancer goes with the Glenelendra Archmage, like I said before. Beastcaller Savant and Topiary Stomper, so I can hopefully get into something a bit better. Alright, there's that Vengeful Reaper again, and the Fire Shrieker, so we force our opponent to block with Sigarda here. Yeah, we can probably just go for the Topiary Stomper for the sake of having a blocker. So let's put just a couple of lands back, should be fine. Because I'm not going to hold up the Otawara, I don't think. Or I could do for the Grenzo, I suppose. Yeah, let's go Beastcaller Savant on top, and the Misty Rainforest on top. And then Flooded Strand can shuffle all of our library, so we don't know what's on the bottom at this point. Get another swamp into play just in case we get into that Cabal Coffers again. And there isn't, as far as I know, any means of double strike keyword counters in these colours, so Fire Shrieker and other equipment, one of the only ways to give double strike to your commander. And we do have trample on the Indominus Rex, so we'll get some damage through to the Sigarda player. But he does have to block here because this is 12 commander damage. Needs to block with his 5 toughness over there. Could play for the fact that he might have a board wipe, but looks like he's not even bothering here. So down he goes to 24 commander, and it's a case of just trying to get rid of the Grenzo player here. I think we'll hold up the Ottawara Soaring Sky to get rid of the Grenzo, bounce it back to his hand and try and slow him down. Seems to have been the game plan that's panned out for us this game. So Grenzo activating his ability will let him use all his mana so he can't play out his commander straight away. Alright, got a good one though, a Volley Veteran. And then going for it again. And there is a Wart Boggart Anti. And then using all of his coloured mana, so now we can go for the Grenzo being bounced. You can just do it in response to the ability, so I don't suppose there's much point in doing it now. Alright, there is a Goblin King. We do not control a mountain, but it is a buff on our opponent's creatures. And going for it again. Alright, and a Siege Gang Commander as well, so yeah, our opponent being allowed to go off with the Grenzo maybe should have bounced it in response to the upkeep. Should have done it during the upkeep, but this makes it more fun. He still has to beat us within a couple of turns because we've got the big double striker in the air. Haven't dealt any combat damage over here yet, so Vigilance really paying off. Oh, and actually our opponent did do all that during the upkeep. I assumed it was during the main phase, but yeah, doing it before the Teferi's puzzle box, so we can load up the bottom of his deck there, of course. That's why he never missed. And the Sudden Spoiling is on top. And we do manage to hold back our opponent because he doesn't want to go wide with any creatures. Not sure why he's holding on to some of these, but we will deal with the Grenzo now. This is fewer cards that we're drawing into the puzzle box, of course, but it's a race against time now anyway. Grateful that my opponent didn't swing in there because it's more damage that we can take to the Sylvan Library. Alright, there's an Urborg, so we've seen both Urborg and Cabal Coffers now. Noteworthy that we could have foretold this at instant speed as well, but I'm not too worried about having a Vengeful Reaper. Although a decent amount of toughness with Death Touch wouldn't be the worst. Alright, there's the Glenalendra Archmage and some mana. And into Pure Imaginative Rascal, getting the Toothy down this turn wouldn't be the worst. So yeah, let's go for Reliquary Tower and an island on top. And this is a means of shuffling our library as well, so we search our own library for Toothy. There is a little bit of plus counter shenanigans in the Indominus Rex deck because it cares about any counters, so it's not just keyword counters that trigger the draw. It's plus counters, minus counters, anything that you could put on there as it enters. And because of the plus counter shenanigans, it makes sense to have Toothy in here. Could be a means of refilling our hand. And then we'll play a land but save the shuffle effect for next turn, or in a few turns time we can tap this down for green thanks to the Yavimaya. Obviously holding back our defender as a blocker. And let's see if our opponent can do anything about us on his next turn. May well be able to. Now he's got haste. Might be able to get down a Krenko and flood the board. But he does have to replay his Grenzo first. He will know which creatures are on the bottom of his library, so therefore knows how much mana to put into X. The Sudden Spoiling in hand will save him next turn as well. But our creatures not having any keywords will be trumped by the fact that we have keyword counters, I think. So this will be a 0-2 with a bunch of keywords on it. Death Touch doesn't work with no power, of course. A land on top again for our opponent. May well want to use the Siege Gang Commander to shock the Pier or the Toothy before I either get counters on them. Destroying Artifact will get rid of the Fire Shrieker, as well as be a sack outlet for goblins. And then Tuk the Explorer. When it dies, create a 5/5 golem. So the goblins are quite big at this point. They don't have the mana held up for the Sudden Spoiling though. That is 3 mana. Sacrificing Tuk to get rid of the Fire Shrieker, so we can't get them next turn. And amazingly, we've been allowed to keep the Toothy in play. We are about to draw a decent amount with both the Puzzle Box and potentially the Sylvan Library as well. And now our opponent starts to swing in. So we'll get rid of Siege Gang Commander before it can start shocking things. And then we have to give up on the Pier, I think. So that can go over there. And we'll get at least a few plus counters on this. It might be able to take a creature down with it, but we'll draw cards when it does as well. Yeah, we take 18 damage here, so yeah, we'll throw this underneath the 6/4, so that's 3, 6, 9, 12 damage we take instead. And getting back into that Living Death wouldn't be the worst. Alright, so Toothy on the stack because we have drawn for the turn. We're about to draw even more for the puzzle box. That is a Winding Constrictor. This is probably one of the best cards in the deck. If we can get it down before the Indominus Rex, then it will give us twice as many Death Touch and flying counters, etc., which doesn't do anything for the game, but Indominus Rex does count the number of counters, so that will double up the card draw, of course. Not going to be using it here though, our opponents haven't managed to remove our creature. Alright, there's an Archfiend of Ifnir. No means of discarding though, so I'll see what we can get with the Sylvan Library. There is a Master Biomancer. Our opponent's going to be close to going wide on us next turn, I imagine. Well, both of the Amonkhet gods aren't all that useful because we won't be able to block with them. Well, we will be able to block with the Ronus, I suppose. Yeah, so keeping the Master Biomancer and the Ronus might be the thing. Put Kefnet on top and the Archfiend on top. We can shuffle thanks to keeping hold of the Windswept Teeth previously. So it's just a case of surviving now. Let's crack the Windswept Teeth before I forget. So then it is Master Biomancer, and it will give Ronus some additional counters that I don't think matter. Oh, actually, I'm forgetting about the... I'm thinking so much about the keywords, I'm forgetting about the activated ability on this. +2 to power would have been enough to take out our opponent here, wouldn't it? Oh well, our opponent might think twice about swinging into a big Toothy. We will swing in with our commander and hope that we survive another turn, because we may have just thrown the game away there. But it's been a more fun one than it was panning out to be. Had an opponent scoop on us, dealt with Sigarda quite commandingly, and yeah, Grenzo at least got to do something this game. But yeah, you see, we got our opponent to 18. We had the mana to go for 22 points of commander damage, so definitely should have looked out for the Ronus activated ability there. Don't often play the Amonkhet gods. Okay, so the Wart Bolgar Anti is... Yep, it brought back the Siege Gang Commander to hand, so may well be our opponent can still go wide on us. Although Teferi's Puzzle Box is going to put it on the bottom. There is a Thran Turbine on top of the library. And after the draws is Munitions Expert. A Mad Anti, yet another Anthem effect for goblins. And a Boggart Mob. This one champions a goblin, and it has to deal damage to us in order to make a token. Okay, don't think he exiled anything under this. Unless it must have been a token, because it hasn't been sacrificed. Now a Tel Gilad Stylus. Put a permanent you own on the bottom of the library. So they haven't managed to get down their commander again. You think it would just be a Hail Mary swing here. The Thran Turbine into play. If we can trade for a Toothy, we will. Alright, our opponent just going for it, seeing what he can do. So we'll just block as much damage as we can here. Our opponent may well have us though. Block the A8. Block another A8. And then that is 7 power. And then our Indominus Rex is blocking an Anthem. We don't have First Strike or anything, so that won't be accounted for before damage. See if he's got us. Oh, alright, excellent. He does have us down at -1. Let's see if the client will tell us what we were drawing into here. Just a bunch of lands on the top. I mean, all we had to do was swing in there with the Indominus Rex to get our opponent. And all we had to do on the previous turn was pay attention to what Ronus does, but yeah, that was a fun game regardless. More fun than it probably ought to have been, but obviously Grenzo was allowed to get back into it there and pulled out the victory, so yeah, that was a good one. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you want to see more from Indominus Rex, then let me know in the comment section. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.